And I'm happy to join you this week because there's some problems going on in the United States of America. And I got news for you. A lot of it resides with President Trump. Let me tell y'all something. Country's in trouble. We all know that. Not here to be a pessimist. Just here to be a realist. And to give it to you like I see it. And
so Stephen A. Smith just delivered a masterclass in political strategy analysis that every sports fan needs to hear. He's breaking down how gerrymandering, essentially the political equivalent of rigging playoff brackets, has completely backfired on Trump. This is game theory at its finest.
People are pissed off. People in America are pissed off. And you know why they're pissed off? Because the number one thing that pisses American people off is this notion that their votes don't count. That somehow, some way, things can happen and their passions and their beliefs and what they want implemented into the fabric of the American society has been circumvented, thereby rendering themselves useless while you're asking for taxpayer dollars and debt is accumulating to above $39 trillion.
He's nailing the core issue here. When voters feel like the game is rigged, whether it's draft picks, salary caps, or electoral maps, that's when you get real anger. The $39 trillion debt is like a team constantly going over the luxury tax with nothing to show for it.
You're talking about gerrymandering compared to redistricting. Redistricting basically is the neutral, constitutionally required process of redrawing lines pretty much every 10 years. We know that hasn't happened because usually every 10 years when this stuff happens, but when it was happening in Texas, when it happened in California, they didn't wait 10 years. They did it in the middle of an administration, in the middle of a cycle. It usually happens every 10 years. That's not what's been happening as of recently. That's supposed to be redistricting.
This distinction is crucial. Constitutional redistricting is like scheduled realignment. Happens every decade, follows rules. But what's been happening is mid-season rule changes designed to benefit specific teams. That's exactly what creates the legitimacy crisis he's describing.
Gerrymandering is the manipulation of the redistricting process for partisan or ideological gain and advantage. That is what has happened. That's what's been happening. Why am I bringing all of this up? Because, ladies and gentlemen, President Donald Trump thought it was something that was going to work for him, particularly when he compelled it to transpire in the state of Texas, led by Governor Greg Abbott, if you remember that whole deal months ago.
Trump basically tried to run the same play that worked in Texas everywhere else. Classic mistake. What works in one division doesn't always translate. He thought he could manipulate the electoral map like a home field advantage, but forgot other teams could copy the strategy.
And now it appears to be backfiring, certainly in the state of California and certainly in the state of Virginia. Who knows what's going to happen? Because you've got Minority Speaker, Democratic leader in the House, Hakeem Jeffries, speaking against this and on behalf of Democrats when he said this about how this was a huge win for Democrats in Virginia to beat MAGA.
The irony is perfect. Trump pioneered this aggressive gerrymandering strategy in Texas, gained 5 seats, then watched Democrats use his exact playbook in California and Virginia. It's like teaching your opponent your best plays. Eventually, they'll use them against you.
The Virginia Democrats pursued a constitutional amendment to bypass the state's bipartisan redistricting commission. The goal was basically to create 10 Democratic seats in the House compared to 1 for the Republican based on the redistricting of the map situation. The amendment was approved by the voters just yesterday in a special election, which is what Hakeem Jeffries was talking about. Final status: while a map is now technically in effect for 2026, it faces ongoing challenges in the Virginia Supreme Court. However, per the Purcell principle, which discourages courts from changing rules too close to an election, it is highly likely to remain the active map for this November.
Those numbers are devastating for Republicans. Going from potentially winning Virginia seats to losing 10-1 is like blowing a 28-3 lead. The Purcell principle means courts won't change maps this close to elections. So this advantage is locked in through 2026.
Because if you remember, in Texas, August 2025 to be exact, the Republican-led legislature passed a new map designed to increase their share of the delegation to 30 Republicans compared to 8 Democrats, when it was at 25 Republicans and 13 Democrats. They tried to increase theirs by 5 and diminish the Democratic vote by 5 in the state of Texas. A 3-judge panel at the time initially blocked the map in November 2025, citing it as racial gerrymandering. But on December 4th, 2025, the U.S. Supreme Court stayed that lower court ruling. The court held that the lower court hadn't properly accounted for the presumption of legislative good faith.
Texas was Trump's proof of concept, flipped 5 seats by redrawing lines. When the Supreme Court blessed it, despite racial gerrymandering claims, Trump thought he'd found a cheat code, but he didn't anticipate Democrats would study the tape and run it back.
California passed a map via the legislature and referred Proposition 50 to the voters, aiming to flip 5 GOP seats, just like they had done in Texas. Republicans challenged the map as racial gerrymandering, but on February 4th, 2026, the U.S. Supreme Court declined to block it. This cleared the way for the map to be active for the 2026 midterms. So it basically came back to bite Donald Trump in the ass. So now, instead of dealing with just Texas and having that in your favor, California went against you. They're winning right now.
California's response was surgical. They didn't just copy Trump's Texas strategy, they perfected it. 5 GOP seats flipped using his own tactics, blessed by the same Supreme Court. Democrats essentially said, anything you can do, we can do better.
Meanwhile, one could easily argue that all of this happened because Trump was preoccupied trying to create regime change in Iran. He had his attention focused elsewhere, in the Middle East, with Iran. Whether it was at the behest of Israel or not is another story for another day for other people to debate. But he's been there. He bombs their nuclear sites last June. He swears he obliterated them. But for some reason felt compelled to bomb them again because all of a sudden we got intel, and intel was saying they had enriched uranium, so much so that they could have produced numerous nuclear weapons within a month. And that was simply not something that he was going to tolerate.
This Iran situation proves you can't fight on multiple fronts effectively. While Trump was focused on bombing nuclear sites, twice apparently, Democrats were quietly executing the domestic political equivalent of a pick and roll. Distraction killed his ground game.
Everybody's conveniently forgetting that the man said they were obliterated months earlier. So evidently your intel at that particular time wasn't good enough. And as a result, you were compelled to bomb them again in a dual concerted orchestrated effort with Israel. And you did all of that while all of this stuff was going on back here in the States.
The contradiction is glaring. You can't claim you obliterated Iran's nuclear program, then bomb them again months later for the same threat. It's like claiming you shut down an opponent's offense, then watching them score repeatedly. The intel clearly wasn't reliable.
So all of a sudden, the midterms have become exponentially more important. And it's more important now than ever before because if you lose the midterms and the Democrats regain power, let's just say for the sake of argument, they regain power in the House, but not necessarily the Senate. You see the number right there. Following the death of Georgia Representative David Scott, who passed away, I believe it was today, at the age of 80. You now have 212 seats in the House for the Democrats, 218 for the Republicans. You got to switch about 4 seats. You pull this off, the Democrats have control of the House. You know what that means? That gives them control of the budget. You know what that means? That $1.5 trillion that Trump is pursuing for the Defense Department, that might be compromised, along with a bevy of other things.
The math is brutal for Trump. Republicans only hold 218 to 212 in the House. That's a 6-seat margin. With these gerrymandering losses and David Scott's passing, Democrats need just 4 flips to control the budget and kill Trump's $1.5 trillion defense spending.
And I want to take a moment to applaud the Democrats. I want to applaud them. Because let me tell you something. What we've been hearing, and I'm going to specifically point out somebody that I've seen a lot of. And I've seen him on Fox News. I've seen him on MS Now. I've seen him on CNN. It's Representative Ro Khanna out of California that has been on this show twice. I want to applaud this man, and I'm going to tell you why I'm applauding this man. Whether you agree or disagree with him, here's why he needs to be applauded. You don't hear him talking about nonsense. He's talking about affordability. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about the economy. He's talking about jobs. He's talking about gas prices. He's talking about food. He's talking about issues relatable to the average American. He ain't been a damn fool out there trying to engage in stuff that involve woke culture and cancel culture.
Representative Ro Khanna represents the new Democratic playbook perfectly. No culture war nonsense, just kitchen table economics, gas prices, food costs, jobs. It's like focusing on fundamentals instead of flashy plays. Boring wins games, and this strategy is working.
That's all the Democrats have to do, and they will win the midterms. Because Trump is blowing it. Trump is blowing it. Right now, it looks like Trump don't know what the hell he's doing. Yeah, you dealing with the stuff straight to her muses.
The assessment is harsh but accurate. Trump's juggling Iran, domestic politics, and international crisis while Democrats stay laser focused on winnable issues. It's classic strategic overextension, trying to do too much and executing none of it well.
And for once, the Democrats, I believe, have been playing it exactly right. They have learned to shut the hell up unless they're speaking about the issues that Americans really complain about instead of trying to get America to care about what they want America to care about. No! Emulate the Republican strategy. At least act like you care about what the voters care about when you open your mouth. That is what the Democrats have been doing. Keep it up. Keep it up. And you're going to win at least one, if not both houses of Congress, because the Republican side has spent so much time fawning over this president and everything he's done.
The coaching philosophy is spot on. Republicans are playing to please Trump instead of win elections. Democrats learned from their losses and adapted, focused on what voters actually care about, not what activists demand. It's the difference between ego and strategy.
If this dude spit in their face, they'll say it's raining. If he passes gas, they'll say it's perfume. That's where he's messed up with most of them. On with other people, like on the extreme right, the Tucker Carlsons who supported him, the Megyn Kellys who supported him, okay? The Nick Fuentes who supported him, and others. These people might be extreme in some people's eyes. I don't consider Megyn Kelly along the lines with the rest of them. But the bottom line is that they all supported him, and they all are expressing regret. It's fragmentation that has kicked in. And he thought gerrymandering was going to fix it because he did it in Texas and that other states would try to follow. But it turns out it's backfiring against him.
The Trump coalition is fragmenting faster than anyone predicted. When Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly are expressing regret, that's like your star players requesting trades. Gerrymandering was supposed to be the safety net, but it became the trap instead.
As long as the Democrats stay on issue, and make sure that you pay attention to the issues that Americans care about. And stop coming to us with this woke culture, cancel culture, extreme left progressive stuff. And get back to being a bit centered in your thinking. Forget about Trump being gone in 2028. He's going to be relatively impotent in 2026. If you play your cards right. The gerrymandering issue is just one. There can be others if the Democrats are smart enough to continue to employ the strategy they've been employing.
The prediction is bold but logical. If Democrats keep running this disciplined campaign focused on economics while Republicans chase culture war distractions, Trump becomes politically irrelevant by 2026. Smart Money says this strategy continues through the midterms.